What is up, guys? Nvidia just reported their earnings and had their conference call. I'm going to discuss everything that you need to know about these earnings in this video. If you guys, before we can get into that, if you guys could hit the like button for me. This is my second video of the day for you guys, so hopefully you guys are enjoying. And without further ado, let's get into it. So, before I get in, the stock is reacting pretty nicely to this. Stock is up 4% after hours, and it had a nice recovery during the earnings call. So for the actual numbers and metrics, they posted a triple beat total revenue of 96.2 billion. This is up 106% year over year. Quarter over quarter growth was up 18% from 81.6 billion, and they beat by 4.3 billion. EPS was up 111% year over year, which beat expectations of 2.8 by 0.14, and data center revenue was up 117% year over year to 89 billion, with gross margins remaining in the mid 70s, 75% up 2.5% year over year. This is very important. The fact that gross margins remained in this mid amount is very good for the company. So before I get further, the obvious bear case, or the one bad thing about the earnings was they went crazy with their commitments, so their spend basically. And the obvious bear case here is, why are they spending so much? Oh, they're doing it to fund their own build out. Oh, it's circular financing. Listen, I just don't agree with that whatsoever. And if you want a further in-depth explanation, listen to the conference call. They explained it, I think, pretty well there. But I really don't think it's something to worry about, because, listen, here's what Jensen Huang had to say. AI has reached its inflection point. Now compute is revenue. So customers spending on Nvidia chips receive tokens that directly generate instant cash flow for customers, because compute has become a direct revenue engine for these customers, for the hyperscalers, frontier labs, and enterprises that are using Nvidia's products. These customers can't slow down their spend because it's directly generating them revenue. So that's what Jensen really had to say about this, what he meant, and I think I agree with him pretty well here. And another thing to note is that continued spend from Nvidia is to secure more supply. And if you look at the demand that they're seeing right now, the demand is insane for platforms like Vera Rubin and Blackwell. So I would like to see them continue spending to continue secure this supply. Um, Revenue per megawatt will continue to increase because of supply constraints, and 70% growth. I'll talk about that a little more later. Because of constraints in the supply chain, that was the reason why there was 70% growth. So if you are constrained in supply, there's going to be a demand imbalance in GPUs, obviously, which I want to point this out. This is off NVIDIA's topic, but neoclouds are going to perform very well from the information that we've received today. So one of my names, Nebius, I think is very likely to perform very well, and I think that most of the neocloud names were up quite a lot after this earnings report, because NVIDIA said it themselves. The demand is going crazy. Some other stuff to note down: one direct customer represented 16% of total revenue in Q2, and 44% of first half revenue was from 3 direct customers. Now, it might seem alarming at first, like, oh, it's fine. Listen, this customer it's just big. It's Microsoft, it's Google, it's big companies that are representing this revenue. It's not an issue, and it's not something that's new. I just put this in here to note it down in case you guys were wondering if that like raises any concern. No, it's completely fine. That's been like that for a while now. So just, that has zero impact. And another thing that kind of has zero impact but could have an impact in the future is China revenue was like less than 1%. You're thinking that sounds terrible. Listen, China revenue was 0%, and you could see some China sales. I think that China is easing some of their regulations on American chips and stuff like that. So I think that you could see a bit of China revenue come in, which is just a whole untapped market. I'm sure demand would go crazy over there as well. So it's just an extra source of demand. And also, Nvidia is guiding for no China revenue at all. So this is just a pure upside catalyst for the thing. And I think it's very plausible that you see at least something. So the two main stories that you're going to take away from this was that guidance was very, very good, and so was earnings. This was one of the best guidance conference calls for Nvidia, I think ever. And the worst thing is their increased commitments, but as we discussed, I think it's very necessary they do that. And on one hand, if you want to look at the glass half empty, you're like, oh, they're spending too much, blah blah. But you look on the glass half full, and you're like, oh, they're continuing to build out because they're continuing to see revenue improve, and they're continuing to see increased demand for their products, which is why you would want to build out more. If everyone's like, oh, you're selling out of everything, why wouldn't you want to increase your production so you could sell out even more? So depends on the way you look at it, but I think it's a very bullish thing for the company. For the conference call itself, for 2027, they expect 70% year over year growth. This is what I was talking about regarding what I said before about AI reaching its inflection point and revenue per megawatt continuing to increase because of supply constraints. It's this 70% year over year growth, it's an extra 100 billion compared to what analysts were expecting, confirms any visibility issues from the pure numbers prior. So during the before the earnings or the conference call, sorry, after the earnings were posted, I saw a lot of people online were like, no, bit of visibility issues here. We need to talk about future growth. We need to talk about their spend, their commitments. This pretty much confirms everything you need to know during the conference call. I think management did a very good job during the call, sorting out any like minor issues, and I think it was just a great call in general. 70% growth because of the supply constraints I said, and management also explained that the reason that margins have come down slightly is because of memory demand being very high, so it's going to cost more. And I think that was explained very well. And I think overall, this is one of the best ever calls from Nvidia. And finally, you're seeing a nice bit of positive momentum for the stock. It feels like for the longest time, this stock just can't push higher. It's such a big market cap, but I think this is really going to do a lot of good for the stock and for the whole space in general. On to some other things. I already discussed Nebius ever so slightly. I think that Nebius benefits tremendously from this. I think AMD can continue to benefit from this. And I think that, as I said before, I think the AI chip names specifically really do start to run into the fall. And I think with this earnings, it could be the catalyst that starts it. I don't think it's going to run up necessarily 20% tomorrow, but I think we could start to see a slow build up through September. And by the end of September, going into October, I think we could really start to see some upward moves. This being said, I think money will soon start rotating out of the big spenders, the Google's, Meta, Amazon's, and they're going to rotate into names like Nvidia and AMD and Nebius and all these other names that are benefiting from a lot of this spend. So I think back to Nvidia now. I think that overall, amazing quarter. Stock deserves to be up. It is up. I think it will stay green, hopefully, over once the market opens tomorrow. But hope you guys enjoyed. I had to really be in a hurry to get this video out for you guys. I just finished class. I have MMA training in about 20 minutes. So I'm going to get this wrapped up and posted for you guys. If you guys enjoyed, please hit the like button. It really helps me out. And I'll see you guys next time.